Hello, welcome back. I'm reading chapter 25 of my memoir, Rebirth. So if you just stumbled upon this video for the first time and you don't know who I am or what I'm doing, I am reading through my memoir chapter by chapter, and I've been reading from the very beginning. So I encourage you to go back to the beginning so that you are listening to the story in sequence. As always, if you like my story, please like and share it. Leave comments in the comments. It doesn't have to be spectacular. Just let me know that you're here. Let me know if you're finding this engaging, if you have an experience that was similar or totally different, but totally, somehow is connected. It hits something in you. Leave something in the comment just so that I know that you're here. It means so much to me to know that you're following along and I'm not here all by myself. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe so that you know when the next chapter drops. Thank you again. So I'm reading chapter 25 entitled The Last Straw. I felt invisible. My words hung in the air, weightless like smoke. They drifted, bounced, and vanished, unacknowledged, untouched. It was like speaking underwater. My vision tunneled. The pressure in my chest tightened, pulling me back into old familiar territory. The more I sought acknowledgement, the more invisible I became. I closed my eyes, trying to quench the ache building inside, but it swelled regardless, a cacophony of fire and noise. I wanted to scream, shatter the silence, and claw my way into someone's awareness, demanding to be witnessed. This mattered, and I could feel it slipping away. Even in moments of clarity and joy, Mauro stood on the other side of an unbridgeable chasm, an invisible wall that expanded between us with every interaction. His narrative cast my truth in shadow, distorting it into delusion. The midwives failed me, I reminded him, my voice firm, anchoring me to the words and reclaiming their weight. And the hospital failed me too. Speaking it aloud released something. I felt myself growing taller inside. Reclaiming the truth breathed life back into my lungs. The fog lifted and a wave of clarity washed over me. Maybe I should contact the newspapers, I added, half laughing, half daring. People should know what happened. He sneered, tilting his head back, and let out a sharp, barking laugh that was too sudden and too loud. When he looked back at me again, his expression was unreadable. Right now is not a good time, he said, brushing past me, his hands briefly gripping my arms enough to move me aside. I was an obstacle, a noise he needed to silence. He moved to the front door and I froze, words catching in my throat. Did he even hear me? Diego thought it was a good idea, I shouted. Why don't you? He didn't pause or turn. Rescuing the car is more important right now. The door clicked shut. I stared at the empty space he occupied. The flicker of hope was gone, snuffed out. My breath shuddered between grief and rage. My chest burned, my hands shook, and my nostrils flared as if I could breathe fire. I wanted to scream, to be heard, but most of all, to be believed. I stomped to the front door and locked it. A small act, part protest, part plea. Maybe if I shut him out, he'd finally feel the distance he perpetuated. Since Evelyn's birth, I felt complete emotional and mental shut-off, a lack of acknowledgement of my experience, and his unwavering defense of everyone else involved. He never once asked what I needed, what I believed, or what I saw. And right now, he didn't have a key. Hours passed before I heard their footsteps on the front porch, followed by the murmur of their voices. I sat with my back to the door, breath shallow, hands tense on my lap. I was not ready to let him in, but I wanted to be available to plead my case. The doorknob turned, clicked, the door opened. I lurched to my feet and threw my weight against it, slamming it shut with my full body. I've had it, my voice trembled. I don't want you to come in. I'm tired of being invisible to you. But that was not really it. I didn't want this distance between us. What I wanted was for him to see me, to stand still long enough to hear me, but I didn't know how else to make the invisible visible. He pushed back, and I gave way. What did it matter? Even when he was here, I felt alone. As he stepped inside, I noticed Diego still on the porch, standing at the far corner, watching, a silent witness to something he didn't understand. I tried to explain. The fragmented sentences were scrambled and hurried. He just shook his head and walked away into the dark. Maro told me Diego thought I was acting strange at the gas station, that I seemed nervous, anxious. He didn't think you were serious, Maro said about the newspaper. He was just humoring you. A shard stabbed me in the throat. That wasn't a joke. That was me opening my heart, risking my voice, speaking truth into the room. And instead of receiving it, they laughed it off. Why is it so hard for people to say what they mean, to mean what they say, stand by it, and own it? Why am I always the one standing exposed while others hide behind small talk and shrug it all off? Maro said he loved me, but love without presence felt hollow. His work, his friends, and his hobbies spoke louder than I ever could. He said he loved Evelyn too. He wanted to believe that. I wanted to believe that. I did. But love is action, not words. It's showing up, and too often he didn't. He wanted to help, but frustration overtook him too quickly. It felt more like guilt than love, as if he were checking a box to prove he was doing enough. But love isn't something you prove, it's something you live. When I was pregnant, he'd go cycling at night. I'd sit alone, hands on my belly, full of life, wondering if those stories were true about the husbands who sneak out for ice cream or French fries just to see their wives smile. Mauro wouldn't. He valued sleep too much, unless, of course, there was a night race. I didn't mind him going out, but there was always an unspoken weight when he did, guilt trailing behind him, whispering that maybe he should stay home, even though I knew he'd rather be somewhere else. A few days later, my mom called. Her voice was sharp and frantic. She wanted to talk about Brian again. I listened, but every word drained me. My arms felt heavy just holding the phone. Why was I offering support when I could barely find any for myself? I tried to focus on her words. Relationships seemed unnecessarily complicated. Even with this newfound sense of clarity, this truly spiritual experience, it was still impossible to make people see what they refused to see. When a boat is moving quickly, I said, it takes a lot of energy to slow it down or turn it around. She was listening. I could hear her breath softening on the line. You and I continued, feeling encouraged. We're like that. We face things head on. We're action takers. We get things done. But because we're moving so fast with such force and willpower, we also require something equally powerful to stop us when we're going in the wrong direction. Like an iceberg. She exhaled, and I felt the thread forming between us. The iceberg isn't the enemy, I said. It's the force that makes us slow down, reevaluate, and change course. Crises aren't necessarily bad. Sometimes they're badly necessary. She laughed, launching me into a playful wordplay. We've been depressed, suppressed, repressed, and now we're speeding ahead trying to stand up for our rights. I paused, waiting for her to catch up. Men are like dogs, she responded after a brief pause. Women like cats. Dogs wag their tails no matter what, but women want to be taken care of, and they get very upset when ignored. Her words stung, grazing the exact wound I'd been nursing. Something tightened inside me, and just like that, I slumped under the weight again. The energy, the thread, and the lightness dissipated. The tidal wave crashed over me, and my energy vanished like a faulty battery, draining from 80% to zero in an instant. Why was I in the middle of her conflict right now? Why was no one supporting me? Mom, I need to rest. I'll talk to you later. I hung up, the weight of everything settling on my chest. When we visited Mauro's mom next, she didn't waste a moment before launching in. Her voice was firm, her hands moving as she spoke. I prayed so hard during the birth, she said, shaking her head. I prayed you wouldn't give birth at home so those midwives wouldn't be involved. I stared at her, stunned. The words were like handcuffs tightening around my chest. She prayed against what I wanted, not for my safety, but against my plan. I didn't like her, she continued. I didn't like her at all. The colored hair, the tattoos, the nose ring, it was too dangerous. I couldn't let you give birth through her hands. I nodded, slowly, partially numb, feeling the lump in my throat growing. She thought she was doing the right thing. She was protecting us. But all I could feel was the betrayal. Despite how hard I'd fought for the most important moment of my life, she spent it hoping things wouldn't go my way. She prayed as if my desires didn't matter, basing her judgments on petty concerns, as if my plans and aspirations were irrelevant. I forced a nod, pressing my lips together, struggling to focus on her words. I shifted in my seat, finding it hard not to bolt from the room. How many others secretly hoped for a different outcome? How many weren't supporting me but unknowingly working against me? It wasn't just frustrating, it was suffocating, the way we think we're helping when we impose our fears on others, adding to the burden they already carry. I nodded again, but it was automatic now, a futile attempt to end the conversation. Then the realization hit hard, like a sudden gust of wind. While I clung to my faith, while I persevered for an outcome beyond my reach, and while I endangered both our lives, having people around me who didn't support me wasn't just frustrating, it was dangerous. And that is the reading of chapter 25, The Last Straw. So again, subscribe if you're not already subscribed so you know when the next chapter drops. Please leave something in the comment if something moved in you, anything. It doesn't have to be a brilliant form of essay. It just has to be real. What you are feeling, what you're thinking. Just, I'm here. If that is what you got for me, that is awesome. Just so I know that you're here reading along. I really appreciate it. Make sure you like and share this video so that others who are meant to hear the story get to hear the story. Thank you again for being here. I look forward to seeing you in the next chapter. Have a great